going on, y'all? Sunday morning, beautiful Sunday morning here in southeastern Arizona, and I'm out on my walk today. Been getting tons of exercise this summer. I've never felt better. But one of the things I like to do early in the morning is get up and go through the news, check out what's going on in our country with current events, what's going on around the world. And of course, I'll always check in on my true crime stories, see what's going on with these different cases. So this morning I looked up Suzanne Morphew's case, see what's happening with Barry, and came across a relatively new video by Nancy Grace, I think within the last 4 or 5 days, where she just, again, talking about the Barry Morphew case. And quite frankly, ladies and gentlemen, I had to go live this morning because I was pretty disgusted by I don't know if it's going to make sense to all you people that have followed this case. We've been following this since 2020, so like 5 years, but I've kind of outgrown a lot of this crap. And without sounding too negative or cynical, I just outgrew a lot of these people and a lot of this stuff that goes on with these cases. I mean, these people it's almost like they've clinged to this case just hoping to become famous or get their name out there. And they've got nothing else going on in their lives, apparently. No higher calling. It's like their ceiling, like the Suzanne Morphew case was their ceiling. They didn't go any higher. And specifically the one that I'm referring to the most is Chris McDonough. I haven't listened to that guy or seen his face in years now. And I saw him pop up on Nancy Grace's latest video with the Suzanne Morphew case. And quite frankly, ladies and gentlemen, about 2 minutes into listening to him, I had to turn it off because I got pretty sick to my stomach. That guy's a weasel. And he's one of these people that has just kind of hung around on the fringes, trying to become famous, trying to act like some hardcore detective. This guy's a clown. I mean, he got everything wrong from the beginning. There's a lot of examples that I could cite, but the main one is, he, of course, like I mentioned on one of my last videos, he got everything wrong, and he thought that somehow I was involved, and I'm pretty sure he was trying to persuade Mike King, like, hey Mike, like, I'm gonna really investigate this Tyson Draper, and I'm gonna dig, and I'm gonna find out, because I know that he knows more and that he's somehow involved in this. So this little weasel started contacting me, had my personal phone number, and he started texting me and calling me every single day, multiple times a day. He started talking to me and actually crying to me, talking to me about how his son passed away, and how that took a toll on him. And I sat and listened to him for hours, listening to his story about how his son passed away, and it actually brought me to tears too, because I felt so sorry for him. And that's the big heart that I have. I have a big heart, but you run into people sometimes that you think are genuine and legit, and you realize they're not, that they're just snakes in the grass. And so I thought Chris McDonough and I were pretty good friends, and he would tell me about how him and his wife are members of the Mormon church, and they're just such staunch LDS people, and they're such good people, and they're you know, and he's just not, ladies and gentlemen. I was really disappointed to see him on Nancy Grace. In fact, at this point, I pretty much lost all respect for Nancy Grace too. Her program's terrible. It really is. I mean, she brings on the worst possible guests. And I'm not saying that out of any type of jealousy, because I've been on her program several times, and I even noticed it then when I was on there. She brings on people who have no idea what they're talking about. They're so distant from the case. So, you know, whatever, but her program's just not good. And I just couldn't bite my tongue anymore this morning, and I don't really have a whole lot of respect for her anymore. I think I've outgrown a lot of this stuff, ladies and gentlemen, and a lot of these people. My name, when you're talking about the Suzanne Morphew case, my name rarely comes up anymore, which is good. That's kind of how I like it. I don't like to be bothered with it. But it's like, hey, I moved on. Yeah, I got political and I started being outspoken about the things that I believe in as it pertains to our future here in the United States of America. And I'm not one to sit back and just watch things go to crap. I'm going to do whatever I can, if I feel strongly about it, to stand up, to rise up, to take a stand, to make my voice heard. And that's what I've done over the last couple years, ladies and gentlemen, standing up for what I feel is right. And I know that's why a lot of people distance themselves from me, because, you know, when you support Trump, people don't want to, they want to act like they don't know who you are unless it somehow benefits them, you know. So I'm not sure where Nancy Grace stands politically. I don't care. But, you know, ever since I started standing up for Trump, I noticed, you know, she won't bring me up anymore. She's talking about this mountain lion theory, and how Barry, you know, in the beginning talked about how a mountain lion, you know, might have drug her off, and that was one of Barry's earliest theories. But they don't ever talk about where that theory came from, right? That actually came from when I was out there looking for Suzanne about 3 weeks after she went missing, and that's when I ran into Barry and he told me that. So, you know, this is why I stayed away from the Suzanne Morphew case, because it became really toxic, man. I don't know what's going on with Mike King. I don't know what's going on with Nancy Grace. I don't know what's going on with all the locals in Salida. But at this point, it is what it is. The thing that matters the most is the fact that Suzanne's getting justice, and that's what this is all about, ladies and gentlemen. It's not about me. It's not about Nancy Grace. It's not about Mike King. It's about getting justice for Suzanne. And I've never lost that. I've always kept that on the forefront of my mind, and everything that I did moving forward with videos and you know, stuff like that. That's really all that it boiled down to. And I'm sure that had I been fully immersed in it this whole time, like a lot of people have, you know, they stayed involved, they made videos and all that, that I would have a much more sour taste in my mouth than I do right now. So for that, I'm grateful that I didn't, you know, get all involved in all this toxic stuff. But yeah, I couldn't bite my tongue anymore this morning, ladies and gentlemen, after watching Nancy Grace's program. It was horrible. I mean, again, it's just outdated. The guests are not informed. I don't know. They're supposed to be experts, and it's comical at this point, really, as far as that goes. But it does look like, of course, Barry is now in Alamosa, in the county jail in Alamosa, And it's going to be very interesting to see how things play out moving forward, because, you know, we still have, in addition to having Suzanne's body and, you know, way more physical evidence now, including, of course, her body. We still have a lot of circumstantial stuff, so it's going to be interesting to see how this all plays out. But I think, just like we've been saying for a long time now, ladies and gentlemen, this is pretty much a slam dunk case, especially now that they've got Suzanne's body. They have an autopsy. They found this BAM, you know, this deer tranquilizer in her bones. Barry is the only one that supposedly had access to it out of everybody in southern Colorado, besides like game and fish and stuff like that. So pretty much a slam dunk, ladies and gentlemen, as far as I'm concerned, but you never know. We'll see what happens. We've already seen lots of twists and turns and unexpected things, but hopefully we're past all that and we can finally get justice for Suzanne. I've been pretty shocked, I guess you could say, by Barry's demeanor once he got arrested right here in Arizona. Not too far from here, actually. Not too far from where I'm at. Barry was hanging out. I thought he was in Indiana, but nope, he was right here in Arizona, just a stone's throw away. So again, just another one of those weird coincidences, strange things that's happened. So you never know what's going to happen, but I do believe that this is the final chapter of the Suzanne Morphew case. But I had people emailing me, reaching out to me, saying, what do you think about Barry's, you know, demeanor when he walked in and he had a big smile on his face? And to me, it almost seems like he's relieved in some sort of weird and twisted way. He's relieved. And I think this is common with people in these type of situations where they feel a tremendous amount of pressure, like they're always looking over their shoulder and they have a guilty conscience. That smile to me when he walked in was a little bit more than just smiling at his girls and, you know, appreciating the fact that they were there to support him. I think it was a little more. I think it was a show, a sign, a telltale sign of him being relieved that he's been caught. And you guys, almost like, well, you guys got me. You know, you guys got me. So that's just my 2 cents, but it'll be interesting to see how it all plays out moving forward. You know, it's the world that we live in, ladies and gentlemen. We're so divided and there's so much hate. It's almost like it just takes away all the positive aspects of trying to cover something like this, because you got so much jealousy and so much hate. And I've tried to just stay aloof and stay separate from it, but it creeps up on you. You have people reaching out to you, blowing your phone up at 3 o'clock in the morning from, you know, burner phones, all kinds of crazy stuff going on. There's just a lot of nut jobs out there doing whatever they can to try to get recognized and try to point the spotlight on them. And it's a damn shame. And the fact that Nancy Grace brought on Chris McDonough and some of those other guests, what an embarrassment. What an absolute embarrassment. Chris McDonough, for being a good LDS guy, good Mormon guy, sure is corrupt. You know, he assured me how great of a Mormon he is. He would text me and call me when him and his wife were driving to church on Sunday, and he would cry and he would tell me about how his son died, and he would send me pictures of his grave. And he really sucked me in and pretended like he was my friend, only to turn around and stab me in the back. And this happened time and time and time again with this case, ladies and gentlemen. And in a way, I'm grateful for it, because you find out who your true friends are, and not only that, it really strengthens you. Your skin, you know, you're pretty thin-skinned when you come into this type of stuff. Now, ladies and gentlemen, my skin is like leather. All the stuff that I've been through standing up and defending Trump and defending this country, our rights, our privileges, our freedoms, and putting my foot down and saying this is bullshit, enough's enough, I'm not putting up with this anymore. You can imagine the crazies and the nut jobs that have come out of the woodwork. So it's not a matter of having thin-skinned. If I was thin-skinned, I wouldn't be on here for 5 years straight making my voice heard. I'll tell you that. I would have tucked my tail between my legs and ran away a long time ago, because these people are evil. And they're self-serving. And they're just not my people. But I hung in there. I fought through it. Now I'm untouchable, ladies and gentlemen. No matter what anybody says or does, you ain't going to touch me. You ain't going to bring me down. You ain't going to change the fact that I am who I am, and I stand for what I believe in. You're not going to knock me off my perch, ladies and gentlemen, try as you may. But I bit my tongue for a long time and just tried to take the high road. But I can't do it anymore, ladies and gentlemen. These people are evil. And they're awful, too. Their programs are awful. They bring on the most uneducated people who have no idea what they're talking about. And then they look like clowns right there on the program. And, you know, whatever. But I don't know what else to say. I see the comments scrolling by here, and I appreciate the love, ladies and gentlemen. And I've had thousands and thousands, tens of thousands of people all across this world, not just here in the United States, all across the world, Australia, the UK, all across Europe, all across this world, who have reached out to me and have followed me and have believed in me and have loved me. And those are my people. Y'all are the only ones I need. I don't need all this other bullshit of backstabbing, backbiting, you know. And this started early on with the Suzanne Morphew case, man. It just started people that would snuggle up close to you, act like your best friend. As soon as they get what they want, you turn around and they've got a knife in your back. So, what an absolute shame. But I hold my head high knowing that I followed my heart. I followed that feeling that I had from God to do everything I could to bring justice for Suzanne Morphew. And what an incredible ride it's been, ladies and gentlemen. A lot of these liberals and a lot of these people across southern Colorado and elsewhere, I really deserve an apology from all you people who for years now have got on here and blasted me and did everything under the sun to bring me down or to paint me in a negative light and say everything about how I was wrong with Barry being behind this. You guys owe me an apology. But do you think they're ever going to get on here and say sorry or make it right? Absolutely not, ladies and gentlemen. They're just going to slink away and go hide in the shadows, because that's where they reside, in the shadows, because these people are evil. But anyway, again, ladies and gentlemen, couldn't bite my tongue this morning. Disappointed in a lot of people when it comes to the Suzanne Morphew case, but really none of this matters, because really all it's about is getting justice for Suzanne Morphew, and it looks like we are right on the doorstep of that happening, ladies and gentlemen. So I'm going to do whatever I can to continue to watch this case and follow it, but I'm not going to put out a lot of stuff because I'm just gonna be like you guys, just watch and maybe comment here and there. But we're all gonna see over the next year, Barry Morphew. I know that it's important that everybody's saying, including Nancy Grace, how many times did she put up on her latest video, Barry is innocent until proven guilty. Barry, why is people so afraid of this guy? Everybody's afraid of getting sued by this guy. You know what? I've said it since day one. To me, my opinion, Barry Morphew's been guilty this entire time, and his body language and behavior has absolutely confirmed that. And I think with over the next, few months, over the next year or so, that's all going to be brought to light and it's all going to come out. And I don't think that Barry Morphew is ever going to see the outside of a prison ever again, ladies and gentlemen. So I'll sit here doing my thing here in Arizona, waiting patiently for all you clowns to get on here and apologize to me for everything that you've said, for everything that you were wrong about. But I'm not going to hold my breath because I know you won't. You people are pathetic. But again, I got those who love me, and I can see the comments flying by this morning down here at the bottom. A lot of people who love me, a lot of people who support me, and it's you guys that have kept me going, and it's you guys who I think about and appreciate anytime that I'm ever discussing or even thinking about the Suzanne Morphew case. So, well, looks like I'm getting to the end of my walk here, ladies and gentlemen. I'm out here on a walk early this morning before that sun comes up because it's supposed to be 115 degrees today. So wherever you're at, stay cool, ladies and gentlemen. And may God bless you this beautiful Sabbath day. Stay safe, my friends. Take care.